All right, do another video today, September the 20th. Just got in a fight with my iPhone. The storage on these things are, I don't know if mine's a 32 or a 16, because it's one of like the early iPhone 6S's, and they don't make the 16 anymore, but I think they did when I bought this thing. I think it's 16, yeah it is. And with the resolution on videos and photos now, it's like, man, I can hardly have any apps. Always got to use the iCloud and then delete stuff, and then once you delete things, it took me a while to figure out that it's still on your phone. You got to go back to the delete file and delete them. So I was doing a little video earlier, and again it cut off. Oh my god, it's driving me crazy. But anyway, we're going to talk about food, basically how all food is not created equal, and put things into perspective, because I think people are really dumb when it comes to buying food in general, across the board, whether it's produce or whether it's meat. You know, we have a society that goes and they have an item in their, let's just call it a pork chop, right? They have an item in their mind, and they're visualizing this pork chop, and they see it on a shelf, and they go, well, this pork chop is $2.50 a pound, you know, cheap pork chop. And then this one over here is, you know, $3.39 a pound. And then this other one over here maybe is $4 a pound, right? We're just basing off of perhaps a quality difference that we have here. Let's just say it's one that's labeled nothing, so it's just a pork chop, right? You don't know anything about it really. The other one says all natural, and the other one might be from pastured pigs. If it was pastured pig, it'd probably be more than $4 a pound. But my point just being that you have these different tiers, and most people could care less. They're like, you know, this is my dollar, that's calories, you know, same amount of calories in them, and they just reach for the cheaper item. And I find it funny that we don't ask any questions about the quality of the context. We just get pissy because one item costs twice as much, or, you know, 50% more, whatever, and we reach for the less expensive item to make the dollar stretch further, right? But at the same time, in a society, we have no problem distinguishing between a Mercedes-Benz and a Ford Focus. You know, we go, oh, well, that Ford Focus, you know, so-and-so just got this brand new Ford Focus for $2,100 or $21,000, right? Or they're leasing it for $179 a month or something like that. And, you know, so-and-so just got that $50,000 Mercedes-Benz or $60,000 Mercedes-Benz, whatever it might be. We'll just use sedan to sedan for reasons of comparison. And then if you walk up to somebody and you go, well, what's, you know, why is that car, you know, cost 2.5 times more what this other one does? And they go, oh, well, it's, you know, it's a Mercedes-Benz. It's nice inside, and it rides really comfortably. It's got this great service plan. You know, it's a status. Everyone's gonna, you know, you think you're more important if you're riding in this fancy car. You know, it's a social status that's tagged on to that price. You know, it's got all these fancy sensors, and, you know, heats your coffee in the cup holder or whatever. You know, all these little gizmos. So we'd have no problem justifying a $30,000 price difference between two things that essentially get you to A to B the same, right? One just does it with more luxury and more style, and, you know, maybe more power, but hey, the speed limit's all the same, right? It's not like I can go 150 in my Mercedes-Benz to get to work instead of going 70 in my Ford Focus. And we don't ask those questions when it comes to what we consume, which I think is absolute insanity, because quite frankly, who gives a shit if you have a Mercedes-Benz or you have a Ford Focus, right? As long as you're, you know, taking care of that possession, you know, getting the oil changes and you know, any other service that might be done, rotating your tires, as long as you're treating that item with the respect of, hey, you know, that's the property I own, I'm going to take care of my things, and, you know, who really cares? But so much of what we do is so societally based. So when it comes to something like food, we've now got this stigma. A lot of the population has the stigma that, you know, the snobs are the ones reaching for the pork chop that costs twice as much. when that's completely asinine statement. I mean, we spend less per income on food than any other country in the world. It's roughly around 9% of every dollar we make, we spend on food in this country. And you see we lead in several of the terrible categories to lead in, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, childhood illnesses. So when it comes to the things we actually use as our fuel to make us feel better, to make us perform better, we have a snobbish attitude towards that, as if the tomato is a tomato is a tomato and a pork chop is a pork chop is a pork chop, when it couldn't be further from the truth. If you have a hog factory that's jamming 1,000 hogs into this confined area, loading them up with grain, and then they're breathing in their fecal matter, which then gets into their tissue, which makes the meat, they're not getting any exercise, so basically just plumping this fat, toxic, antibiotic-filled, unhappy, mistreated animal into this confinement pen, and then they put 20 of them into a chute, smash them. They use a giant steel hydraulic thing that smashes the poor little piggies, and then they push them down a conveyor belt and they get strapped up, hooked, and gutted, right? And is that product, is the product where the pig is in the open field getting exercise, getting a mixture of the supplemented grain with the minerals, with the pasture, eating the different kinds of vegetation, digging, foraging around, jumping up and down, chasing other pigs, building lean muscle mass? Is that product that is so much more dense in vitamins and minerals and nutrients, and the list goes on and on and on about the benefits of consuming that pasture-raised pasture-raised pigs or poultry over its confinement, the confinement style way of raising them? The comparisons aren't even close. In most instances, you're looking at a minimum of 10 times nutrient density in a properly raised animal. And yet, we get all pissed off because it costs 60% more, or call somebody a snob because they want to feed their family that. Listen, you're only going to be as good as the fuel you put in your body. If you're driving a race car and you're getting ready to hit the Indy 500 track, and you put 87 octane in that damn race car, you're going to get your ass kicked and then probably blow up your engine, right? It's just going to misfire and it's just going to fail. You can't run 12,000 RPMs and off of 87 octane. There's a reason there's special fuel for race cars, because it's a higher quality, more expensive product that allows that engine to perform the way it's meant to perform. We are not supposed to be consuming these mechanized confinement products, or on the fruits and veggie side, we're not supposed to be consuming things that are grown in massive fumigated fields, massive amounts of pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, synthetic fertilizers, GMOs, all these things that just cause us immense harm, are only intended to grow the product larger, faster, because that's what the price is dependent upon, right? If you can push poundage out in a smaller time frame, that means profit. Doesn't matter what it's filled with, what the nutrient density is of that strawberry or that apple or that carrot, whatever it is. And yet I go over to this natural grocers up here, right? And I get my produce from there a lot of the time, anything I don't get from the restaurant. And I might pay, I don't know, produce costs probably 35% higher, depending on the item. That varies, probably varies between 20 and 50% more, unless you're going with a root product like turmeric or something, and then it's twice as much. Fine, I mean, it's turmeric, right? It's a small item. How much turmeric are you going to consume? But of course I'm going to purchase that product, especially if it's local. They carry local stuff here. Why would I not put money back into my community, someone who's busting their ass to create a good product for somebody, while at the same time, my wife and I and my kids are eating something with a much more complex vitamin and mineral profile than some crap you have at Walmart, right? That's just there to get bigger and faster, and it's mostly just empty chlorophyll jammed with water. So, we really have to think about that. You think about, most people don't even know what a tomato is supposed to taste like anymore, because these vegetables and fruits, a lot of their makeup now and how they're bred, whether genetically modified or species specific, so breeding different kinds of species together, making hybrids that are more durable, or excuse me, or just they can bounce around in the back of a truck for 1,500 miles and make it to your plate at an Applebee's or your grocery store without being beat to hell after riding in the back of the truck that long. And then they taste like crap. They taste like cardboard. They have no flavor. Most people don't know what it's like to pick a real tomato off of an heirloom tomato plant growing by somebody's grandmother who's been doing it right for the last 30, 40, 50 years out of organic composted topsoil, and the amount of beneficial nutrients that we get from doing that. And also, in most instances, sorry, I still got this cold going on, head cold, so let me take a drink. In most instances, you'll see this a lot of poor people, right? Fat and undernourished. So if you go out and you spend X amount of dollars and you eat 2,300 calories a day of well-sourced products, whether it's meat, whether it's vegetables, whether it's fruit, whatever, you're going to eat fewer calories, even though those calories cost you more money. Your body's not going to be starving for nutrients. So basically, you're going to be healthier spending less money than you think you're spending over the crappy product, because you're not consuming as many calories, because your body's not sitting there starving for nutrients, saying, hey, you need to go get another one of those McDoubles. You need to get, I need something, shove something down into my throat, because we're starving here. We need some kind of nutrient density. So you keep eating these empty calories, and empty calories lead to obesity, and they lead to people feeling continually hungry, because again, you might have taken in 3,000 calories that day, but it was 3,000 empty calories that are crap. If you spent $15 on those 3,000 calories from a crappy source, you would have been better off spending $18, $20 on 2,400 calories that are nutrient dense, and you could be feeling much better at the end of the day, fighting off diseases, all that good stuff that comes with it. So we've got to change our perspective on how we think of the food. It's got to be on a value basis. What is the value? It's not about the price per pound. Same way with carbs, protein, and fats. We just sit there and we look at these really simple numbers. I don't care. You can eat whatever the hell you want, as far as I'm concerned, with carbs, fats, and proteins, whatever kind of percentage you want to. If it's coming from whole foods, your body's going to naturally kind of even that out with your cravings and the nutrients you're giving them, and you're not going to gain any weight. I can eat as much whole foods as I want. I can work out like crazy, or I can do nothing, and I end up eating about what my body needs, because it's coming from whole foods. No preservative filled processed crap. No little frozen pizzas, and no Hot Pockets and pizza roll bites and all that crap that we have in our freezer. No lean cuisines. So before people sit there and they just stare at numbers on a spreadsheet, which most people don't even take the time to do something like that, but you get the point. Before you start just looking across the board at price per pound, price per calorie, you have to take into consideration the source first and foremost, and that should be your number one, and then you work backward. And say this product is really, really, really high quality, comes from a local person, which I like to support local people anyway. So is this worth 40% more than that confinement product raised by General Mills? In my mind, I've done the research, I've lived this way. Of course it is. It absolutely is. You're an idiot if you're going to go to Walmart, pick out the cheapest damn meat product on the shelf, and then feed it to your kids. You're being an absolute idiot. I'm sorry if that offends any of you out there, but stop being an idiot. Go get your children the nutrients they need so their brain can develop, their body can develop, and they can live up to their potential. And the further we get away, generations, the further amount of generations we get from that more homestead where most of the population had a garden, most of the population had a couple chickens, so we're working in somewhere between 3 and 5 depending on your lineage. The further you get away from that, the worse people's health is becoming, because after generation after generation, we'll get in this a huge discussion about the microbiome in the gut, and that passes down to your children and so on and so forth. But you're seeing the mixture of poor nutrient foods that are filled with crud, whether it's herbicides, pesticides, antibiotics, so on and so forth. The further we get from those, or further we get down the line of consuming those processed products that are nutrient deficient, mixing that with prescription drugs that are handed out like candy today, the worse our health gets as a society. So I don't want to hear that it's too expensive. I don't want to hear any of that crap, because everyone's worried about getting the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 8, I guess now, which just launched, right? You don't need a freaking $700 phone. You don't need a $200 a month cell phone bill, or even more if you got a family, right? You don't need that. You don't need that with DirecTV, with HBO, with internet, with let's cut some of the crap out you don't need. You don't need to drive the $30,000 pickup that costs $427 a month, not including insurance. So if your health is poor and you're bitching about money, look at the other parts of your life. What can you cut out? You got to start prioritizing. Don't go to the movies. Take a field trip to a farm. Go buy some produce. Feed it to your family. Try it out for a month, right? Say, we're going to cut back big time this month, and we're going to spend an extra $300 as a family on good source food over our normal grocery budget. And I guarantee all of you will feel better. And if you are on prescription drugs for some kind of ailment, I guarantee those ailments are going to feel better at the end of the month. So I'm at the chiropractor, and he's a dude who preaches all the same stuff. And we've got a lot of people in this community that feel that way, at least in my circles. And all I can say is, if you want to make a change in your life, especially as regards to your health and well-being of you and your family, it's not up to anybody else. It's not up to the government. It's not up to some doctor to tell you what to do. You need to do it yourself. You need to take some responsibility, make yourself feel better. All right, that's it for today, guys. Later.